You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Lips and Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Lips and Ads. Go to lipsandads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com.
Always pay attention to the experts and seek advice from those who have been in the industry for years. And that's exactly why I invited Phil Russell onto the show, as he has been in this industry for so many years, running his Shepherd's Hut business in one of my favourite places in the UK. He is what we would call a dab hand, a font of knowledge, an expert and an authority on glamping. Welcome to episode 59. Glamping and unique holiday rentals are surging in popularity with the growing desire of customers to book holidays that deliver an experience. They are also the new business of choice for those wanting to improve their work-life balance. So how do you build a strong business like this that gives you the life you need and a great investment? I'm Sarah Riley, and I want to share what I've discovered after being immersed in this industry for over 20 years to inspire you to find out more about what's going on. Welcome. This is the business of glamping and unique holiday rentals. Phil, thank you so much for joining me today. It's fantastic to have somebody who has so many years of running a business in the glamping industry and has such a huge amount of knowledge of what it actually takes to run a business. So you're a great resource to me and to others, and so actually having you on the show is fantastic. So welcome here today, Phil.
Morning, Sarah.
Morning indeed. So tell me a little bit about where you are and what's so special about your location.
Well, we are located in England, in the county of Somerset, and we are on one of the highest elevations in the Somerset Hills, in the Mendip Hills, overlooking Glastonbury Tor. As a crow flies, it's probably about 7 or 8 miles away, and with stunning views for 30 miles to the Quantocks and down to the Bristol Channel. So, yeah, a very privileged location.
It really is. And I've actually spent many, many years there because I used to go to college in that general area, and I know it incredibly well. So I know how beautiful it is. But for somebody who's never visited the area, tell them what the Tor is and why it's so special.
Well, Glastonbury Tor, there's many myths to it, but it goes back hundreds of years, and King Arthur is allegedly renowned to have been there at some stage. And nowadays, it's used for walking up, obviously, and also the locals and the Druids. They celebrate summer solstice. I was there for summer solstice myself this year, and they will also be there for the winter solstice, which is not many days away from now.
I know from my own time in the area that the Tor it's on a huge hill, which it's not really
mound.
A hill, it's a mound.
It's a big mound, yes.
So is this a natural mound, carved from glacier movement, or is this something that's slightly man-made?
The honest answer is I don't really know, but I'm sure it's not man-made.
Yeah, but the Tor, I know that many people come from around the world to visit it. It's just got a huge amount of myth, as you say, legend, but particularly people talk about the fact that the Holy Grail is buried in that area as well. So all of these things, do you get visitors who come and stay with you? Do they specifically stay with you to go and visit the Tor?
We get visitors that sometimes don't know it's there. And they will often say, "Oh, Glastonbury Tor." I've actually had one guest say, "Can I walk to the Tor?" And I did actually point out that the distance it was. So it looks nearby, but as I said, it's a few miles as a crow flies. Generally speaking, people that want to visit the Tor would probably be staying in Glastonbury. itself, because they want to be very much connected to the leylands and that buzz and that environment of Glastonbury. It's a very special and unique and different type of town. I describe it to my guests. It's the street, the high street you walk down where you don't want to buy a tin of paint and a paintbrush because you're not going to find it. But if you want to buy some crystals, you're going to find lots of them. So yeah, Glastonbury is a weird and wonderful town. But people obviously can sit outside the hut here and they can see the Tor quite clearly.
Yeah, and it's really stunning on the quite flat. Is it this part of the Somerset levels where you are?
No. We're very high up here. As I said, we're one of the highest points in Somerset. The Somerset levels are quite low. At this present moment, I can see them from our home here, and they are underwater as we speak.
Ah, right, because of the rain that we've had recently. Well, that's its
Indeed.
natural way, isn't it, as well, being underwater.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, so the area that you're living in, you've got the Glastonbury Festival, which is this huge, world-renowned festival that happens in the area. You've got the Tor, you've got the Mendip Hills, you've got so many other things around you. And what would you say is probably your guest's most common reason for visiting? Is it to rest and recuperate, or is it to actually have a look around or hike, or what is it that they usually come and stay with you for?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. And sometimes I will answer your question, but I always go around the road to look at this one. Typically, a guest will stay for 2 to 3 nights, and you would like them to take advantage of the exceptional area and beauty that we have here. But it does surprise me with some guests that they do arrive, and not that we necessarily engage with the customers unless they want us to, or we see them. But when I do talk to them, I do scratch my head slightly when they've, say, driven from London down here for 3 hours, and I might just see them as they're walking past, and I say, "Up to anything nice today?" And they say, "We're going shopping in Bath or Bristol." And I do scratch my head with that one slightly. I've had some customers that stay here for up to a week almost and never move. They literally park the car up and never move. And I think the ideal thing is, if you came here for 2 or 3 nights, which is a typical stay, is to come here to the area, go visit, say, Glastonbury Tor in the morning before the check-in, come to the huts, enjoy a couple of days. You could pop out to, let's say, Glastonbury or Wells, the smaller city in England, for a few hours to get some provisions or have a look at the cathedral, and then come back and enjoy the environment and the area we've got here. And then when you check out, maybe go to another town on your way home. But everyone comes for different reasons. But I would like to think if people come and stay, they should enjoy the huts and the environment.
Yeah, certainly I've seen from your social media some of the people that have stayed, and they shared their personal pictures and everything else of them staying in your huts, and it looks idyllic because there's so much greenery around them, there's so much space, and many of them take photographs inside your are they Swedish hot tubs, hot baths?
They are, yes.
Yes. And so clearly they're loving it and enjoying it. And I suppose if you've come from the city and you don't often have that kind of environment and space and nature around you, then it's just stunning, and no wonder they don't want to leave. Yeah, exactly.
Indeed, yes, yeah.
So how many years have you been running your business now?
Well, as of next year, it will be our 10th anniversary. It will be, so 10 years. Next May will be our 10th anniversary.
Oh, well, congratulations for that. That's really fantastic.
Do I get a cup?
We'll give you some kind of an award, Phil, don't you worry. But I think, it's safe to say it can be quite challenging in hospitality. I mean, I've been in my own business, not anymore in hospitality, but I did jointly run a business for 10 years, and it's really challenging at times, although obviously there's some really upsides to it as well. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But of the things that you know that have worked and haven't worked, what would you say are some of the top things that have led to your success and for keeping going so well for so long?
It's a good question. Probably being stubborn, determined, that very much helps, and wanting it to be a success, because it has to be a success.
Yeah.
I, you know, as I speak to you now, I'm in my office overlooking the huts, and when I started on the project, which was like 11 years ago, there wasn't many people out there in the glamping industry. Not many were Shepherds Huts, and I was going to provide an ensuite Shepherds Hut, which is there was basically none of them in the UK. We were building it on site. I had no budget. I didn't have any money. I didn't think. All I did was kept buying and spending. And my accounts lady was here just going through a carrier bag of receipts, and she said to me, "Do you know how much you spend?" And with the figure she gave me, I fell off the chair. I couldn't believe how much I'd spent. I won't divulge how much it was, but I think I should have bought a Range Rover instead. And I realised then that I'd spent so much money, it had to be a success. So yeah, determination, and resiliation. I think many, as you said earlier, all businesses are hard to run. And I do remember actually having a conversation with a guest, and he sort of like turned around and said, "You got a good lifestyle." He said, "I've worked out, these huts, they only cost you X, Y, Z. You charge this, you must be making that." And I said, "Have a guess how much that hut is insured for." And he was gobsmacked when I told him the price. So, it's all very easy for us to look at any business, not necessarily glamping, and think, that's an easy job. I remember, when I'd go to the pub, potentially an underage drinker at the time, and it was always nice to be, on this side of the bar, but I never wanted to work the other side because I knew there were so many hours to be working, and it was a hard life. So it's the same with any business, I'd say.
Absolutely. And I think as well, we've had conversations in the past where, you've said, I might have been running my business for 10 years, but that's needed constant annual updates. Everything needs to be upgraded and changed.
Oh,
so
yes.
Really,
it don't stop.
Exactly. So the spending doesn't stop, the maintaining it doesn't stop. You can't run a 5-star business and allow it to go down to 4-star. It's got to be maintained to a 5-star business, and that's exactly what we experienced when we were running a 5-star business. And it can be quite challenging to keep those standards as high as you want them to be. So what would you say was the most important thing to aim for when trying to continue your success that you've had so far? Is it working on your online presence? Is it working on the facilities you're offering your guests? Is it doing your social media? What would you say for you has been most important when trying to continue your success?
Well, I think all the elements are important, but what you probably have to establish is who can do what. There's only one of me. I can't spin every plate. So I'm pretty good hands-on, with regards to the actual huts and the environment. I set the standard that, I would expect, at least for my standard and for my guests. The marketing, while I have an understanding of that, I probably need to rely on other people's services to ensure that we portray the correct type of social media and what we should be promoting. So yeah, I have to use resources. I can't do it all myself.
And you've actually, one of the things that I've noticed from working with you is that you have got a team. So you've decided that you need a team. How did that come together, this team who you use? Did you decide that, or has it naturally evolved?
Well, obviously, in my previous working practices, which was in communications, telecommunications, again, we had, IT, we had marketing departments, we had consultants. So it wasn't as if I wasn't aware of what these other persons were, let's say. And probably 10 years ago, I was slightly naive. Maybe I did think I could do it all myself. And what I found was that once I'd spent all this money and realized this was not a lifestyle, this was, I need to make this pay. And I was very naive. I thought they will come. And, we promoted the product, and unfortunately, they did not come. people didn't arrive, and I started to worry, and I thought, what have I done wrong here? So I sought advice from friends and consultants, and I started employing people's services to help build our brand and our products.
Kevin Costner's got a lot to answer for when he said, if you build it, they will come. No,
they didn't come. They didn't come.
That's not the way it works. And actually, it's interesting because so many other people I've worked with in the past or I've spoken to, and they've said that they put so much passion into building their actual service, the structures, and what people will be sleeping in and enjoying while they're staying there. And they put very little time into thinking about their marketing and where they were actually going to get their guests from. And I think maybe things have got much more competitive. Would you agree from the time that you started to now?
Totally, but there's 2 points there. And I've been approached in the last 10 years from other persons that have directly said to me, they want to set up a glamping business. And for those that have been a bit sneaky and haven't told me, but I know what they want to do. And we as humans, we will always do the easiest jobs or the jobs we like first. So you touched upon the point where somebody will create their space. They will build it. Yes, they will build it because they enjoy that and they can do that. What they can't do is the latter, which normally is which involves IT, technology, marketing, and social media. So I think there's a reasonable pattern of that with people setting up businesses that, yes, we can build something, or yes, we can buy this and sell it, but they don't necessarily think about the back end. And the back end of a business, as I've found out for yourself, is quite a complicated back end system, as they say.
Absolutely. And for those who are listening who are thinking, back end, what does that mean?
Oh, sorry.
It's safe to say it's what's going on behind the scenes that guests, customers can't see. So the front end is obviously the shop window for what people can see online, but also what people can see when they come and visit your actual accommodation. Back end being what they can't see. And so I suppose what you're saying is that you're discovering a lot more about what's happening in the back end. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't really necessarily had to pay too much. Sorry. Maybe I should have paid more attention to the back end, let's say, but it's only recently that I'm spending more time looking at and reviewing that.
Yeah, which actually is, I think, is a really, a huge applause to you, really, because you have been in this business for a really long time. And sometimes people can get complacent and think that they know it all because they have been operating a successful business for so long. But you're very much saying, no, I want to learn more. I want to know what's going on. This industry is evolving. Would you agree with my statement?
Same with any industry. I mean, if we go back 20 years ago, we were still sending faxes to each other. I mean, there could be some people that listen to this podcast and don't even know what a fax is. Now, we're sending WhatsApps.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the industry is changing so much, and that's why it's really good to have a bird's eye view of what's working, what's not working, and to keep an eye particularly on what the hotels are doing, because if the hotels start doing something, then people start expecting it a bit more in other accommodations. That's quite interesting. So this is something that I try to keep my finger on the pulse with. So a lot of people do feel very much like when they're building their business, they feel like it's their baby. They've grown
correct.
it.
Fully relate to that.
And so how did you overcome that feeling of when you were bringing your team in, when you were starting to work with that team? How did you overcome having to hand over parts of what you've grown, what you've given birth to somebody else?
Trust. Good trust. I still think of them, talking more about the front end there, Len and Ted, that's the names of the huts that we have here. Some people sort of like say, well, which one's your favorite? And you say, it's a bit like you can't say which one's your favorite kid. so there is that emotional bond to that. But my marketing team, I fully trust, worked with them for many years, and they know how I tick, and I I really let them, give them an outline brief, and they get on and go and do it. And it's very rare that I might say, not sure about that. And the same with the IT, the IT company. I trust them implicitly. 9 times out of 10, they do everything as it needs to be done.
Having experienced it, I think as well, you do a huge amount of due diligence before you actually enter into something with somebody else. And so I think you're saying that you trust, but you do that background check. You do that,
Oh, yes. I mean, you wouldn't, I'm very privileged that I've got my own builders but if, for instance, you move to a new location and you wanted to have some building work done, you wouldn't just open up the yellow pages don't even exist anymore now, but pick a builder. You'd go for recommendations. You want to see their work. You want to find out information. So yeah, you need to do checks, definitely so.
So if you were starting from scratch today,
yes,
so you were starting all over again with a new business, what would you do first to aim for the same kind of success that you've currently got?
I've always said this to anyone that's asked me that question. Before you buy anything, go and stay 3 different locations of something similar that you want to provide. Invest £1,000 and go and stay 2 or 3 nights, whether it's a wigwam, a shepherd's hut, tent, caravan, a bus, whatever it may be, and do your research and think, and look at it and walk away from it, and then think, do you really want to be doing that? And try and gain some information from where you're staying. You will gain a lot of information directly or indirectly with the owner. I've done it myself. I've stayed in a number of other person's shepherd's huts, and that's where I gained my obsession at the time. But I do think people look at this industry as a lifestyle industry and think, that's easy, isn't it? All you've got to do is make a few beds, put it on the internet, sell it for X pounds, and they're making a lot of money. Well, unfortunately, it doesn't necessarily work that way. All costs are going up, running costs. Nothing seems to be going down in price. Yeah, it's definitely a lifestyle business. Can you get a salary from it? You need to reward yourself somehow. But the price that you might get in August ain't the price you're going to maybe get in January, nor the demand. And will it be suffice? That's is it going to be a part-time job?
So really, I suppose, picking that apart a little bit, what you're saying is, for somebody to really do a bit of research about what they personally want out of it and what they can personally get out of it if they run a certain style of glamping business model, I suppose. So it's about, look at the different models out there, see which one suits you best, and then look at maybe the cash flow and everything else to see whether you're going to be able to make the money that you want out of it, to have the lifestyle that you want.
I mean, somebody might have the view that, I've been to a number of glamping shows in the past, and let's say a tent, for argument's sake, I steered away from canvas and tents. I don't know much about them at all, but it's a fabric, I don't think it's going to last long, and, and the weather is going to deteriorate with it. My understanding is, a setup with that is far more cost effective than, let's say, a structure, a cabin, let's say. So your setup costs are far less, but in 2 or 3 years' time, I think you'll probably replace most of it again. So everything's a double-edged sword. Do you start off with a small outlay for smaller returns, or do you go for a big capital outlay for a longer-term longevity for slower returns? And everyone's different. But I still say the same thing. Whether it's a tent or a cabin, do your research, go and stay in your potential competitors' units, look at it, make notes, and then go away and think, can we do better?
I think as well, it's worth mentioning there, which what you touched on as well, which is about, if you're looking at things like canvas structures, they might be cheaper and easier to set up at the beginning. But
Yeah,
as you say, there's different maintenance issues. It may not suit your land, topography, or the weather that you get hit by on that land. And
yeah,
also, you don't actually have something that you can sell at the end of it if you decide that you don't want to run your business anymore. And whereas actually when you have something like a cabin or shepherd's huts, it's actually an asset. It's got a
yeah,
capital, value to it. So you can actually sell it. And so that is an added benefit, I suppose, even though the outlay is greater. But it's interesting because I've been hearing recently people saying that they've been advised, don't do your business plan, don't think about that, just get up and do it, just do it, just get on with it, otherwise you'll procrastinate, you'll never get it done.
you've met me then.
Maybe that was Phil 10 years ago,
Yes.
but what I'm getting at the moment is Phil today is slightly different and is more along my lines, which is, yeah, I totally agree that a full business plan is unnecessary. If you're not going out for investment to investors, you don't
Yes.
need the narrative side of it. But what you do need to do at the very least is to understand the numbers,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
money you're
Yeah.
going to make, what you're going to spend, how much is that going to be for you? Is that going to fit within your life and what you want out of it? And how, will that help you move forward in terms of your lifestyle? And I think that's something that you've really got right. The Phil today has really got this bit right, is about running your business, but also running it as a way of having a lifestyle. Now, tell me a little
Lifestyle.
bit about that.
Oh, well, when I was much younger, when I was at school, I wanted to be a policeman, I think. But I couldn't because I'm colorblind, so I failed the test. But I seemed to, at a young age, I seemed to like travel. And I probably could have been a travel writer or worked in a travel agent, but that never happened, let's say. And I do like to self-educate myself, and I do like to travel. And as you probably do know, so we've had a couple of conversations in the last few weeks. I do get around a little bit. Especially in the winter period. One thing, if somebody does set up a business like this, I've got a pretty good idea of when I'm going to be busy, or in the peak time period. I should know when I'm going to be slack, and as opposed to, have my arms crossed in November, thinking, am I going to sell a midweek stay now? Well, it's probably unlikely. So instead of me waiting for something to happen, I go and do something. So typically, I will go away for 2 or 3 nights into Europe somewhere and do some traveling. But I don't try to let it jeopardize the business. So I'll always come back to maintain the hut.
Yeah. Well, so it's quite interesting because it actually feeds into a conversation that I had with someone not very long ago, part of my own glamping network that I've got. And they were saying that even though they did have with the units they had, they could have continued to operate them all year round, but they chose not to.
Decided not to. Yeah.
They chose to close their doors over a period of time because for them, lifestyle, having that downtime and being able to pursue their passions was really important to them. And I completely understand that. And that's exactly what you're saying, isn't it? That it really suits you having a seasonal business because then you can travel.
Yeah, I mean, on a personal level, the month of January, we tend to shut the doors. We do the majority of our bigger maintenance in January, and then myself and my wife are going on a cruise in January next year, and that's our major holiday when you can just not even bother to look at the phone or the emails or worry about any issues about home because we're quiet. Yes, yeah.
Completely switch off and enjoy your relaxation time, knowing that you're coming back to a business that will still be able to restart, relaunch, have guests come in the door when you're ready to open again. And I think that for me is what makes this industry so exciting, is the fact that it can fit around your wants and needs out of life rather than the other way round.
Yeah. Well, obviously, most people are probably going to be self-employed in this industry as well, and without going into too much detail, may not be the most financial best move in the world, but if you had a 9 to 5 job in the city, with demanding targets and achievements, you're going to earn a lot more money there. But with this, normally it's a more slower pace of life. It's a different way of life, but I don't travel abroad in the summer. Why do I need to? Normally the weather in the UK is pretty good then. And also I'm at Glastonbury Festival because I do steward there every year.
Exactly. I mean, Glastonbury Festival is just another example of lifestyle, isn't it? So people choosing to do certain things that they love doing and
Yes,
putting themselves and those activities first. Do you know what? You're an inspiration, Phil, because not only have you been running something in this industry for so long, you have been able to, choose to mold it around your lifestyle needs and what you want to achieve out of life.
I'm not getting any younger nowadays, so I need to broaden my horizons.
I love that. What's your favorite place to visit?
It's probably going to be Spain and the Balearics for 2 reasons. One, it's very convenient for me to get to from here, from Bristol Airport. I must improve my Spanish. It's not good enough. I've been on a couple of courses. I would describe myself as I would never go without a drink or food in a bar in Spain. But so I do like to go abroad, and not necessarily be with other English people. Let's say, it's just nice to hear different voices.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the point in traveling to another country if you're just going to hang out eating, English food with English people? You want to enjoy what that country has to offer. Absolutely. Oh, well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today, Phil, and I wish you the best luck on your travels. And I'm incredibly envious of you getting some winter sun.
I'll have to send you a postcard.
No, please do. And I look forward very much to catching up with you when you return.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you indeed. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks again to Phil from Tor View Shepherds Huts. Now, if you want to go and have a look at his website, have a look at his location, and even book a holiday, book a stay, as he was saying, you can learn so much from staying in other people's glamping businesses, then all you need to do is go to torviewshepherdshuts.co.uk. If you found Phil's insights on this industry helpful, then I would love your review. Just leave it in the review column of any podcasting platform you're listening to this episode on. I'd love to have your thoughts, and come back here again as I've got some fantastic content lined up for you. Hope you can join me here again soon. Bye-bye.
Say goodbye to your credit card rewards. Greedy corporate mega stores, led by Walmart and Target, are pushing for a law in Congress to take away your hard-earned cash back and travel points to line their pockets. The Durbin-Marshall credit card bill would enact harmful credit card routing mandates that would end credit card rewards as we know it. If you love your credit card rewards, tell your lawmakers, hands off my rewards. Tell them to oppose the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill.